So, I wake up to this headline. Trump has ordered 2 US nuclear submarines to be deployed. In response to a tweet. Wait, what? Yeah, it wasn't from Putin or the Russian military or even their foreign ministry. It was from Dmitry Medvedev, a guy who used to be president of Russia but who's now more like a nuclear meme machine. He posts these over-the-top threats all the time. Let's rewind. Trump told Russia they have 10 days to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine or else. That or else was fresh sanctions against Russia and even against countries that trade with them, like India and China. Then Medvedev claps back on X, saying each ultimatum is a step toward war, not with Ukraine, but with the US. And this time, Donald Trump noticed and responded with nuclear submarines. Let that sink in. Trump's exact words were, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be deployed to the appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. That's vague. Very vague, and in nuclear strategy, vague can be dangerous. Let me break this down. The US has this thing called the nuclear triad. It's 3 legs: bombers in the air, ICBMs in underground silos, and submarines roaming silently underwater. These subs, they're invisible, they're undetectable, and they're designed to survive a nuclear first strike, so they can strike back. That's what makes them the backbone of deterrence. So here's the thing, they're already deployed. They're always out there. That's literally the whole strategy. So when Trump says he's deploying subs, it either means A, nothing has changed, or B, he actually pulled some levers on active military operations because of a social media post. And I honestly don't know which is worse. Here's what bothers me. This wasn't a decision made after a classified briefing. It wasn't explained by the Pentagon. It was posted on Truth Social, Trump's own app, in a moment that felt more like performance than policy. And sure, maybe it was just signaling, just a bluff. But when we're dealing with nuclear-armed nations, even a bluff can get misread. In diplomacy, ambiguity can sometimes be useful. In nuclear diplomacy, it can be catastrophic. Now, let's talk about Medvedev. He's not in charge of Russia's military. He doesn't run foreign policy, but he does love throwing gasoline on the fire. And this time, it worked, because Trump responded. And now, the world is watching a weird, secondhand nuclear standoff unfold between 2 guys, neither of whom is currently in power. The Russian government, they didn't even respond. Markets dropped. People got nervous, but the Kremlin stayed quiet. And I think that silence says something. Even they're not sure what Trump's post was really about. Some say this was about showing strength. Others say it's political, an attempt to look presidential, project power, maybe even distract from other headlines. But here's the truth. When you casually invoke nuclear weapons, especially in public, especially online, you erode the taboo that has helped keep these weapons locked away for decades. We need that taboo because once nukes become normal, once they become content, we start walking a very thin line. So yes, 2 US nuclear submarines are probably in the ocean right now, but they've been there. That's not new. What is new, or at least newly reckless, is treating them like a PR tool in an internet argument. Because the second you make nuclear weapons part of your brand, the rest of the world takes note. And no matter what your intentions were, once you say the word nuclear out loud, you don't get to control how others hear it. So why now? Why this post? Honestly, it feels like Trump was looking for a reason to flex. Maybe to look strong, maybe to distract, maybe to remind people, hey, I can still play president. Let's be real. This wasn't a military escalation, but it was a rhetorical one. And rhetoric matters. You start talking about nukes on social media, and suddenly other countries like China, India, NATO allies start gaming out worst-case scenarios. And when there's already an active war in Ukraine and global tensions over Taiwan and Gaza and everything else, do we really need nuclear saber rattling from former leaders? Look, I get it. Leaders bluff. Power games happen. But when you're bluffing with nuclear weapons, even if it's symbolic, the stakes are too high. And the people who suffer aren't on Twitter or in submarines. They're in cities, on borders, in the blast radius of the next miscalculation. This isn't playing tough. It's playing with fire. So no, moving submarines probably didn't change the world. But talking about it the way Trump did, it did move people's perception. And in geopolitics, perception often becomes reality. We live in a world where the most powerful weapons in human history can be moved and tweeted about by individuals who aren't even in office anymore. That should concern us. If you learned something or just needed a moment to zoom out from the noise, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Should we ever talk about nukes like this? See you next time.